This is USVI News, your Virgin Islands connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. On St. Thomas, a beautiful coming home ceremony welcoming the body of the late former Virgin Islands Governor Charles Turnbull back home to the territory. His body arrived at the airport in St. Thomas Wednesday to a beautiful tribute. Family members, the VI National Guard's Honor Guard, Governor Albert Bryan Jr. and Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach, among many others, were all there to receive the body of the former governor. Turnbull died on July 3rd, and a series of viewings and tributes are being planned to remember his life and legacy. Turnbull was born on St. Thomas and elected governor in 1999. He served 2 terms as Virgin Islands governor. The 87-year-old was a servant leader who served as a teacher, administrator, and eventually a respected commissioner of education as well. Turnbull made significant contributions to the U.S. Virgin Islands and leaves behind a lasting legacy. The beautiful video and pictures you're seeing now are courtesy of the Virgin Islands Government House. Governor Albert Bryan Jr. has ordered all U.S. Virgin Islands flags to be flying at half-staff in honor of Charles Turnbull during the current period of mourning, which will be lasting 30 days from the 3rd. On St. Croix, VIPD makes an arrest in connection with a robbery earlier this year at a local establishment. Police have charged 19-year-old George John Jr. for his alleged role in the May 21st robbery of the Taste of Margarita Bar and Restaurant in Frederiksted. Investigators say John Jr. was seen on the business's surveillance system as he parked his vehicle outside and entered the establishment. While inside, the video shows him entering the restroom, then approaching the bar, and then leaving. Police say he then drove out of the parking lot, parked on the street, the other side of the street where the establishment was, and that's when 3 men jumped out of his vehicle, ran across the street, and into the restaurant where they robbed the business at gunpoint, according to police. John Jr. is facing robbery and weapons charges as the investigation continues. As we reported, new numbers out Wednesday from the Bureau of Labor Statistics show inflation surged 9.1% year over year in June. That number marks a pandemic high and the highest inflation the U.S. has seen since 1981. Here's what it means for Americans already suffering so much.
Soaring prices for food, housing, and gasoline driving up inflation to a 41-year record high. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows inflation soared 9.1% compared to a year ago. That's the highest since 1981.
The cost of doing business, the cost of going to school, the cost of buying a car, and the cost of buying a home are all just that much more expensive right now.
Wednesday's Consumer Price Index also found prices for food at home rose by 12.2% year over year in June. Shelter was up 5.6%, and energy prices rose by 41.6%. Gas prices accounted for the biggest part of the increase, with costs up nearly 60% in June over last year. Prices in some categories have been declining in recent weeks, but that's not captured in Wednesday's report.
We did expect a very strong increase in June with relief coming in July. However, it's not just the top line number, the one that we're all attached to. It's the way in which inflation is broadening out and now looks to be persistent.
That decline has been leading some experts to predict that June's Consumer Price Index could be the peak of the inflation crisis. Economists say the latest data further indicates the Fed will likely continue to raise interest rates to help tame inflation, which would make it more expensive to borrow, from car loans to mortgages and credit cards.
The Fed is expected to raise its benchmark interest rate by at least 75 basis points at its meeting later this month. COVID-19 cases remain steady territory-wide, although they've peaked just a bit throughout the week. According to the latest numbers from the VI Department of Health, there are currently 234 active COVID cases territory-wide, with 134 on St. Croix, 86 on St. Thomas, and still 14 currently on St. John. And the pandemic has brought a significant increase in vision complaints, partly because many people are spending more time than ever staring at screens. Some could find a solution in the new innovation in vision correction, implantable contact lenses. Dania Bacchus shows us how they work.
All right, let's take a look.
Powell Robinson has used corrective lenses since first grade. Now working as a cinematographer and director, his contacts had become a constant misery.
The inflammation from wearing them for super long hours was making my vision get a little blurry, my eyes would get super dry, and it was just getting sort of unsustainable.
To help correct his vision and ditch his contact lenses, his eye doctor suggested a procedure known as EVO-Visian ICL.
The EVO ICL is a permanent implantable contact lens that's placed in the eye instead of a contact lens that you would wear on the surface of the eye where you have to constantly take out and put back in.
Dr. Netta Shammy is an ophthalmologist with the Maloney Shammy Vision Institute. She says the procedure is ideal for treating myopia, otherwise known as nearsightedness, and offers an alternative to LASIK surgery, which works by changing the anatomy of the eye.
The EVO-Visian ICL procedure has been approved overseas for 10 years, with more than 1 million surgeries performed. Here in the United States, it was approved by the FDA in late March.
It hits the market just as eye complaints are soaring. Myopia is increasing so rapidly, an international study estimates half the global population could be nearsighted in the next 30 years.
This is the best you could see without your glasses and contact lenses prior to surgery.
The implants take just 8 to 10 minutes per eye, and the improvement is nearly immediate.
It's pretty weird to wake up in the morning and just see.
A new window on the world, which Robinson describes as life-changing.
Any questions for me?
So the procedure costs between $2,500 and $5,000 per eye. And it's because it's an elective surgery, it's not generally covered by health insurance. In other health news today, in Puerto Rico, 2 new confirmed cases of monkeypox now brings the island's total infections to 4. And as the Secretary of Health reports, the infections are not linked to each other. Our USVI News' Francis Felix reports.
The Department of Health confirmed 2 additional cases of monkeypox, bringing the total register in Puerto Rico to 4 cases. We talked with Dr. Fernando Cabanillas about this disease that keeps vigilant the government and citizens.
Health Secretary Carlos Mellado announced in a tweet that the monkeypox surveillance system confirmed 2 cases for orthopox virus, with a total of 4 cases that are not linked to each other and are associated with trips.
If the same thing that is happening in New York happens here, in California, it's actually where they have more cases in the U.S., and it's also spreading fast. So I don't think it's going to become a pandemic like COVID. I don't think that's going to happen because mostly it's not as contagious as COVID, and the people who are infected with monkeypox, they usually don't transmit the disease until they become symptomatic. So it's different in that sense, different to COVID.
What are the symptoms associated with this disease?
Initially starts with a fever, with the very intense headaches, swollen lymph glands, which can be in the groins or in the neck or in the underarms. And then after that, like 3 days later, the patients will develop the skin lesions, which start like spots, flat spots, but then they become protuberant. That's what we call papules in medicine. And then from papules, they can ulcerate and become infected.
But how long the symptoms last?
It takes usually like 2 to 4 weeks for the disease to eventually fade away, but it can kill like 5% of the people that are infected. So the disease is mostly spread by direct contact with skin lesions. It's been mostly, basically almost all of the cases have been in males that have sex with males, so either bisexuals or homosexuals. But of course, that's exactly how AIDS started, exclusively in homosexuals, but eventually it was spread to heterosexuals.
Cabanillas explained that it's not contagious as COVID, and people who are infected don't transmit the disease until they become symptomatic.
Isolate people because if they become symptomatic and they have skin lesions, and if people are aware about this, like I think a lot of people are becoming aware of this, then they should self-isolate and they should seek help from a physician because they have to diagnose it. There's not a blood test to diagnose the disorder. You have to take scrape the lesions, and then that's done by the Department of Health.
According to the World Health Organization, one case of monkeypox in a non-endemic country is considered an outbreak. The doctor assures us that more cases of monkeypox could spread in the island. Reporting from San Juan, Puerto Rico, Frances Felix.
And there is treatment for monkeypox, and there's a vaccine out there as well, although it is slow rolling to get out there currently.